Hello, good morning, good evening, good day, good afternoon, and aloha. Welcome back to another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review, your home for credible news, reviews, and commentary on everything UFOs. My name's Luis Jimenez. Today we have a really fun show lined up. Before we do, of course, let me remind you, don't forget to smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you know anybody who might enjoy the content. And of course, subscribe to the Big Phone Home Facebook page down below. And if you want to call your senators before the Big Phone Home or anytime when you want, we also have a link to all of our senators and congressmen down below as well. So have at it. So we're going to get into the Big Phone Home. We're going to get into a lot of things, UFOs and UAPs tonight. I've got a very special guest, a YouTuber, a podcaster, a lady of the UFO world. And this is, I put a request out to the Twitter universe. And, you know, in this whole Big Phone Home effort, I found that there was a lot of men in the room and I wasn't getting a lot of female voices. So I wanted to extend the invitation to the ladies out there. And of course, people of color and anyone, you know, that has a diverse voice, we welcome it to the effort. And I wanted to highlight those voices by bringing them on the show, talking UFOs and whatever else may come up. So without further ado, we will have and add to the stream Miss Amy, otherwise known as Alien Girl 111. Welcome to the stream. It's going very well.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I love your show.
I appreciate you loving the show, and I appreciate you coming on the show. So I guess, you know, before we get started, let's get started. You know, before we get started, it would mean that what you're about to say doesn't mean anything. So that's totally not valid. Before we get started, actually, I want to say hi to everybody in the chat. XUAP, Rodrigo Vieira, Alien Girl, hi. You're in the chat as well, so don't be shy. Brandy Phillips, Rusty, hello. Thank you guys for being here. We truly, truly appreciate it. So let's start with where you're from.
I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, the heart of alien country.
Born and raised?
Born and raised. I'm a cowgirl.
Interesting. Did you grow up on a farm?
I grew up I lived in a farm in Los Lunas, New Mexico. But then when I was 3, I moved to Albuquerque. But yeah, I have friends who live in Roswell. I brought one on my show and interviewed her because she grew up there. And it's always a thing here. Aliens are kind of normal, especially when you talk about like indigenous tribes. You know, you hear stories all the time of the star people, and it's just a really magical place. So yeah. And you're out there in LA, right?
I am. I'm in very congested, living on top of each other, rat race, Los Angeles. Yes. Probably the complete opposite of where you're at. What do you think? What do you think you'd prefer to live in? Obviously, you know, probably Albuquerque, right? You probably wouldn't change that, I'm thinking.
No, I've been to LA. My sister lived out there for about 5 or 6, 7 years. It's a lot of people and it's a lot of energy. And in the city I live in now, like I still have a kind of a desire to go out into Earth. Like I do have a desire, especially as I got really into making content. You know, it's not my only content that I make. And so, yeah, I really I want no. So LA, no, thank you. It's just not my jive, but I love it. The energy of the city's insanely cool, but you got to be able to ride that wave, I think.
Oh, for sure. Well, please don't miss the pink hoodie. It was a toss up between the pink one and the yellow one tonight. And I decided to go yellow. So I'm just trying to switch it up. So don't be sad because I think all the hoodies should need a little love. Okay, so you have a sister. Do you have any other siblings?
Yeah, I have a sister and a brother. Yeah.
And what was life in Albuquerque like? Like, what were you guys doing growing up? What's the age gap?
The age gap with my brother and sister? Okay, yeah. So my brother's about 8 years older than me. My sister's 5 years older than me. Back in the day in Albuquerque, when we were young, my parents were working at a store here, and we had 2 lanes the highway was just 2 lanes back then in the 70s, 80s. And we didn't have the internet, nothing like this. So it's just like a watchtower with a guy holding glasses, binoculars to see like where the wrecks were. And there was just like nothing.
So what's your favorite thing to do out there now as an adult?
It's just the sky. The sky is absolutely huge here. That's why I think there are a lot of sightings.
Yeah.
I live near Kirtland Air Force Base. And I can't live by an ocean, but when you get into a car and you go as far as you can into the desert here, and you're in the middle of nowhere and you see no trees, nothing. I love that feeling.
I love that feeling too. I used to get that when I lived in Florida. I would drive out to the Everglades. Very similar. But it's swamp instead of desert. And it's just basically, one lane, 2 lanes. It used to be, 2 lanes, one going one way, one going the other. And that was it all across the entire state of Florida. And then there would be little dirt roads, paths off of that one main road. Of course, now it's much wider. But there's nothing out there. And I would go out there all the time and just crack on Coast to Coast AM.
Yeah.
And kick on the sunroof and drink a Slurpee or one of those Wendy's Frosties and just listen to Coast AM. And Art Bell. It was those are some of my favorite memories ever. So you get to do that often. I'm kind of jealous. I'm not going to lie.
That's funny you bring up Art Bell because I was talking with my mom about it yesterday because I was telling her about the show. It's getting an energy. Like I was like, people actually watch it. It's cool, Mom. And it's so interesting. Your grandpa never told anyone, but sometimes, and they had 7 kids, when we'd all go to sleep, he'd go in the basement and get to a radio and he'd listen to Art Bell by himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were super religious, and I was like, "That's wild," because it was really the only source he could get some sort of paranormal news, because that was, very strict.
That was it. Well, there was no internet. The only thing you could get it from would be like a tabloid paper or Art Bell. And the thing about Art Bell was that he was, I'm pretty sure Art Bell started out as just a normal radio guy. So he was a master at radio already, and then he just added the paranormal into it, and it was just like a beautiful recipe for just eargasms. I love Art Bell. Okay, so what do you do out in Albuquerque now? What's just like me, I'm not paying the bills with my UFO channel, but what do you do for work? Are you okay to talk about that? You don't have to. Okay. The reason why I was asking is because I saw like you have like these castings that you make, these molds that you make.
Yes, I do. So I do have another channel, and it is monetized.
Okay,
I put a lot of energy into that. Yeah. And so I've been doing that for about 6 years. I also ran an Etsy shop for 5 years, so I did that full time. And then I got tired of cranking out one paper crane after the other, and decided that residual income was best made through YouTubing. And I also think that this is fun. With YouTubing, I think it's interesting because people want authentic voices. Like you're saying, I wanted to invite you on the show because people want real people. And I also like it because I don't make a video for a month and I get a little bit of change here and there.
Yeah.
So I love doing that. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, but I made alien earrings today out of resin.
Right. Yeah, no, that's what I was trying to. That's
shirt.
Oh, see, there you go. Like, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I was trying to get to. I wasn't trying to I wasn't be like, okay, tell me your job. Now what's your social security number, Amy? What's your address? What kind of car do you drive? Credit cards? How many credit cards do you have?
This isn't like the crafting world.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. I'm just trying to get to know you, like what you do, so
I craft and I talk about UFOs.
I love it. So what other arts and crafts do you get into? Do you paint and things like that as well? Usually I find
something here. These are cool and kind of alien related.
Yeah. Oh, those are awesome. What is it?
It's a little pyramid. It's a resin pyramid.
Oh, that's rad.
Yeah, so I make a lot of these.
Very cool. What other shapes and objects do you have you made?
So the alien earrings I did today, I finished a resin ocean painting that turned out pretty cool. So I'm looking at it right now. They're all outside, and then like a little trinket desk, and then like little gemstones. It's all geode and ocean.
Mm-hmm.
That's like literally what I'm into: geodes and ocean right now.
I like it. Very cool.
Fun.
Well, you maybe inspired Rodrigo here. I live close to the ocean, no desert landscape close by. The nearest is in Spain, where they film, I'm thinking, Conan the Barbarian. Now that you mention it, I should try it someday. You should definitely try it.
Yeah.
Definitely try it. And here's his the person who bought me this hoodie, and probably the reason I went with this hoodie. Perfect guest to bring on during Women's History Month. So excited Amy's here. Ready to hear the female perspective.
Yes.
Show us the ratings. Oh, what is it?
A+. 5
earrings. Maybe earrings. Yeah, and it auto-corrected.
They're out there. I don't know. We'll see.
All right, yeah, maybe we'll get to see some earrings. Okay, so then let's I guess what do you obviously you have a channel talking about news and things, and the thing I dug about your channel is you got the music going. It's very chill. You talk you're very and I don't mean this in a bad way. It's just you're slowed down. It's very just like calm and calming, and I think that's why I like it the most, because I could easily put that on in the background and just listen to you spew away about UFOs, and it's cool. Yeah, with the I can't get the song out of my head. I'm just like today I was like well,
it was always the techno, and then like the UFO videos, because I've been watching it for 10 years. A lot of people who watch and chat, I've seen them in the chats for years and years and years. And then one day I was like, fine, I'll just talk about it on my own show. Might as well. And I think that's the thing. It's a lot of people who have known me for a while.
Yeah. And how long have you been sort of active in the community?
I've been watching Third Phase since 2010.
Yeah. So gosh, 11 years.
Way back. Awesome. I subscribed when they were under like 12K.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember seeing them probably back in 2006-ish when I was working in a dungeon in New York City, and I would see their videos pop up.
Maybe it's not 11 years. I don't know. I don't even think they've been along that long.
No, I mean it's
a long time.
I think it's been around a long time. You got to give them credit. There's no doubt about that. They know how to get eyeballs. They know how to get traction.
I'd listened to their radio show, and they had it a long time ago. They don't do it anymore. Like a long time ago, every Friday.
Yeah.
And so I'd listen to the show every Friday, because Friday is the best day of the week. It easily is. So
you think so? That's your favorite day?
Yeah, that's the day when, if you have whatever your Friday is, right?
Yeah.
Whatever day you have off from every responsibility, and you can see that you have 48 hours ahead of you where you could do whatever you want. Okay. Is the most amazing feeling of all.
I agree. I agree. Can't argue. You got no argument here from me. Okay, so I guess what's your favorite topic to talk about in the UFO sphere?
Yes, my favorite topic to talk about. I just appreciate it, because sometimes you feel like you only get one chance with one question, you know what I mean? And I would say my favorite topic is CE5 concert ideas.
Meaning, when you say concert,
Harry has a concert and we all meditate to get in touch with a UFO, with extraterrestrials.
Interesting.
We all go to a music festival with the intention of connecting.
Okay. Have you been to a CE5 event?
No, I've not been to a CE5 event.
I've looked at CE5. I've not been to a CE5 event. I am intrigued by the idea of it. I don't like the messenger, but that doesn't mean that the message is flawed. it's an interesting idea. Although I shared something on Twitter that Sean Cahill had wrote, that if you're going to do a CE5, things to sort of either bring along or a checklist of things to do to confirm that whatever you're seeing is actually not supposed to be there. He was like saying you can get FAA radio broadcasts and listen to any sort of traffic going in through the area. You can get satellite trajectories going through that space and time. You can get apps that follow planes, helicopters, anything that's in the sky that is tracked by the FAA. So that way, when something does come up, you could log it, film it, and sort of start to create a record of it. So that way, when someone says, "Oh, CE5 is bullshit," you could say, "Well, no, here's the data. If you want to look at the data, go for it."
Right. But that's what happened with my channel. That's actually the first video I published, because I, go backyard, chilling. I do it all the time. Come on, show me. I got my camera. Like however you roll it. And then I got a photo in my backyard. Yeah. And I was like, wow, okay, I'm going to put this on. It wasn't anything that I'm like, wow, I have total proof. But the proof is I was trying to, and I got a picture of something. I don't know. That's all I can say. And to say, like, I think deep meditation goes a long way. Sometimes I think the journey is more of a consciousness journey. And I do think that there are like big players in the field and, like all connecting and jiving together to create the final outcome, and Greer is part of that big thing. Greer we were talking about how long you've been into it. Well, I remember in 2001, I think I was in high school, and I downloaded something to be able to watch the citizens hearing that he had. So I don't know, there's all these players into it. And I think even you, even me, we're all working towards something, and it's a lot bigger, and we all play a little part. Like we were talking about, like the person who can look at that metallic glass thing and just in an instant see the one thing that's odd about it, instead of someone like me reading through 50 pages of scientific stuff that I don't understand. So there's a lot of just really cool, beautiful things that are happening. And I think it's really weird. I was listening to the mainstream media yesterday. They were talking about Perseverance landed. And even on the mainstream media, they were saying, well, they're looking for signs of ancient life. And I remember talking about that 6 months ago when Perseverance launched, and everyone was like, come on, Amy, there's not going to be aliens. There's not going to be extra like microbial life on Mars. And lo and behold, they landed it, and they're like, okay, we've almost found the life.
Yeah. Well, when you say like, do you mean the microbial life, or do you mean like ancient sort of structural intelligence? There used to be an intelligence on there.
So the program I was watching referenced ancient life.
Interesting.
And if you watch, I think it was Unacknowledged by Stephen, but the documentary, in that documentary, he talks about how there's a script for major news networks that they all follow word for word. And I've seen the videos where they say the first sentence of it. And then like in South Dakota, they're saying the second sentence. And then at the other one in Arizona, they got the third sentence. And it's just like the whole same broadcast of that. And so sometimes I think that's how they send out some information to say ancient life. Like everybody in 12 states heard mainstream media news anchor they love say landed on Mars. It's not looking for signs of ancient life. Little things in the back, subconscious little things to get us ready. We found phosphine in the atmosphere of Venus. Like this is why I started my show. We already found microbial life. It's on Venus. All we got to do is get a rocket over there, collect a sample of that cloud, bring it back, and booyah. Look, guys, it's next door.
Right. Yeah, no, I think it's funny how but that's that's just the way science is. How it's so obvious that microbial life is out there. It's so obvious, but there's never been anything brought into a lab from a different planet that's alive, that's can only be seen under a microscope. So therefore, no one can say definitively, yes, there's microbial life out there. But I think nature has a very, very good pattern of repeating itself. It repeats itself constantly, and when they go to Antarctica and they drill in the ice, and they're 3, 4, 5, 6, 700 feet underground, where they're not expecting any life whatsoever, and they find it. It's like, come on, man. Okay, like, can we get past this microbial life discussion and then let's start talking about something with a little more gusto?
Yeah.
But then again, I've never seen any evidence of the contrary either. I've never seen anything of ancient life on any other planet anywhere. So that's also, like, if you need one to come under a microscope, then the other must be also under a microscope,
Right. And so that's why I think they're going to find a fossil on Mars.
You think they're going to find a fossil of what?
That's as far as I'll go.
Like a fossil of like what used to live on Mars?
No, I think they'll find like a little fish or a trilobite.
Okay. Oh, okay. You mean like something like a mammal of some kind?
They're like a tiny insect.
Yeah.
Okay. Tiny insect, a water-based organism.
Yeah, I don't think that's.
I think they'll find one. Yeah,
for
exactly.
sure. Oh, for sure. Well, I would be interested to see. Because I do love just exploring the idea of how old our solar system specifically is. And our planet is, I think, somewhere around, I don't know, I can't remember the exact number.
5.6 billion, 5 billion.
Maybe even, somewhere around
6
billion years old. I thought I was gonna say somewhere around in the like 15 billion, but maybe that's even wrong. But even if it's 6 billion, that's a really long time ago.
Like, and so hard.
I do like this idea of Earth sort of having reached this peak, and then something catastrophic happens, and then it resets it. And then it does it again. Something catastrophic happened, resets it, and there's no proof of that, but there are some really interesting archaeologists and things like that sort of theorizing these things and how it could be possible, and it could very well explain why we have the pyramids and the Sphinx and all of these odd structures that align with equators and stars in the sky and all of these mathematics that we thought just did not exist until a certain point in time. And these theories completely destroy all those ideas. And, so I would be interested to see what happens when Musk lands on Mars. And they get full blown archaeology team up there and start like digging and really, like you said, I don't know if they're gonna find that insecticide or mammal fossil until somebody's like human hands or even a droid, like one of those dogs. Like that's a perfect. I was talking about. I can't remember who I was talking about. These dogs. Like I don't understand these robotic dogs. What is the purpose? Space.
The Boston Robotics. I think I remember that.
I don't understand. But you can put these things in space, and I can see a very, very clear purpose for these things. Where they pop out there, they collect a whole bunch of samples. Maybe they dig, and if you could hook up ground penetrating radar to those things, and they can just run tracks while they're building biosphere domes to live in.
Exactly.
Trying to terraform the atmosphere so Mars has breathable air, whatever they try to do. Like, I mean, I wouldn't shock me if they did find something along the lines of, a monolith or whatever, a pyramid or something like that. Wouldn't shock me.
Because there's the monolith on Phobos, the moon there.
Well, so they say. So they say. I mean,
allegedly.
like it's. I would have to see crystal clear pictures of that for me to really believe that. And a lot of those, I used to follow a lot of those moon theories, especially the ones with there was a guy, I can't remember exactly who it was, that was saying there's glass spheres on the moon. There's like almost like if you've ever seen the Louvre in Paris, where it's got the glass angled, pyramid that you could see down into the museum through, like things like that. And then when you get into the math of those things, it doesn't hold up. So I would love for there to be something on Mars. How cool would it be if there was a pyramid or a building or anything on Mars?
That would be the best.
Or the moon. That would be awesome. But it wouldn't shock me if there was nothing either. It wouldn't shock me if there was nothing. And it wouldn't disappoint me either. Like it would be very, very fascinating if we found even just like you said, a fossil. That would be cool. Like, can you imagine? I don't know why, but the first thing that popped in my brain was a femur. Like, that would be cool if we found a femur on Mars.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, and maybe they won't find anything at all, and who knows? You don't know till you know, and there's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of gray area, and sometimes we just have to follow our instincts when it comes to that gray area. And I think that's where people get, stuck in the middle with it, where they want to let go of it, or at least I do. I'm like, I want to let go of it, but then I always find some little piece of evidence that keeps me going down more the rabbit hole.
Yeah. No, it's easy to go down that rabbit hole. And I try to tell everyone, when you're going, I highly recommend going down the hole, but I recommend going at a snail's pace. Just inspect every nook and cranny of that rabbit hole.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's see here. We've got some awesome. By the way, thanks everyone for being in the chat. Majestic Q Clearance, engaging the phenomenon. We've got Rodrigo, of course, is always in here. Man, I don't know how Rodrigo does it. This guy is in every show that I'm also watch, and he's always given awesome comments and just a really positive, wonderful person. So I always like
to Rodrigo.
We got C in here. We've got Brandy, Michelle, of course. Just want to say hi to everyone there. And let's see here.
Girls in the house.
Girls in the house. I love it. Don't worry, they find small seashell and they say it's not real. Debunker will come out with the full force.
Oh, no. They're going down with the evidence. We're going to take them down, guys. Bring them on. We've got proof. Here's a fossil.
Yeah.
Here's a fossil. I mean, you're going to tell me?
I would just love to see the look on Neil deGrasse Tyson's face. I was just listening to him on a sports show, Colin Cowherd. Like the questions that were coming from Colin Cowherd were so terrible, and they played the X-Files music in the middle of the interview. I swear to God, if I would give up the entire X-Files video library to never hear that theme song ever played during an interview ever again. I would give up the entire if you could snap it out of existence, I'd be like, go for it.
Right.
Go for it. If that means that no one ever has to put up with that music while talking about this topic again and making fun of serious questions, I'm all for it. Okay, let's see here. So just need some applied genuine effort to get CE5'd. And I'm going to have engaging the phenomenon on the show because I do have a ton of questions about CE5. He's gone to an event. So we got to get together and get you on the show because I've got a lot of questions about CE5. I don't doubt the validity of it. Again, it's just I've heard so many things from very credible people about Stephen Greer and sort of, he's just not a good dude. I mean, we talked about his taxes here on the show and what he paid himself out of all of the funds that were coming into the SETI organization and where those organizations were based out of, what states, and who was the CEO, the treasurer, the the CFO. It was all Stephen Greer. So it's tough. But again, I love his work from, like you said, 2000 or late mid 90s, when he's bringing in all of these pilots, FAA, scientists, commanders. He had Israeli Air Force pilots. I mean, the gamut of credible people. So you can't ignore that work. That work is essential. And without it, I don't know if you would have that 2017 article come out. I really don't, without Stephen Greer's early work.
I agree.
So
he was one of those people who was like, I'm intelligent and I'm going to explain it. And I'm not some crazy. I'm not somebody, like, he legitimately could take care of himself, didn't need a career as an entertainer, was working as an MD, and then kind of broke it. And, I think after a while of being ridiculed and questioned and re-questioned, it suddenly becomes easy to be like, you know what, there's a value to that.
Yeah.
He had to change his whole reputation to say he supported, that the aliens are real and everything like that.
Well, I can tell you, if there was one thing, we were talking about this in the green room, the pre-show room before we went live, because Sean Cahill had just we were talking about it just now, to say, if he was recording and tracking these things and providing data along with the sightings,
right,
and having those nights, because there's going to be those nights where you don't see anything, and that's okay. Maybe the conditions are right. Maybe everybody's mindset isn't 100% focused and ready and there. Meditating is just not closing your eyes, crossing your legs, and humming to yourself. There's a lot more that goes into it, and it should be treated with kid gloves. But I think that there's something there, but I think that it should be coupled with science, and that science and data should be open sourced. If he was doing that, then I'd have no beef with him whatsoever. You could charge whatever the hell you want, because if you're taking somebody's $3,000 to go out in the desert, because somebody put that in there, so I want to address that. If you're taking that $3,000, which he does charge,
right? That's a true,
that's not bullshit. He does charge people an exorbitant amount of money to
$2,000
to see lights. Those lights don't necessarily mean they're UFOs, but regardless, let's say he's taking that $3,000 and he's buying a Sky Hub to bring with him every one of these meetings in the desert,
right?
And he's doing an Osiris type project when and they're all meditating around the truck while this AI software is picking up these lights in the sky, and then that AI is telling you whether or not that light is anomalous. That to me would be so much more productive and less divisive for people like us in the community, because I feel like you have a very deep respect and understanding of Stephen Greer, maybe even deeper and more knowledge than I do about the man. But I could also put that aside and say to myself, hey, there could be something here. This doesn't, we can't throw this out, the baby with the bathwater, just because we don't like that this guy is making a shit ton of money off of it,
right?
It's, what do you think about that?
He's a piece of the story. Bob Lazar is a piece of the story. George Knapp, Linda Moulton Howe, everybody brings a little piece, and between all of them you get to see these themes of truth that are constantly denied, and you also see pushback from the government and from people to say, no, you're crazy. That's totally not true. When you're showing evidence, or when you ask another question, where you can ask another question and you say, well, where do you have the evidence for that? Like with the Phoenix Lights. Okay. Right. So you think the Phoenix Lights didn't happen. Well, you think it was government technology, and you think I'm arrogant because humans could have already created this. Well, if that's true, do you have documentation of the mile-long craft that you're talking about that rolled through Arizona? And are you going to disregard the sighting of basically a whole city? Thousands of people saw this, and you're going to disregard what they saw completely, including Senator Fife, Smithington, or whoever, even the senator.
He was governor.
Exactly.
But I can tell you, okay.
Governor, that's so high too, like such a big position to say, what I saw was a spaceship.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this about mass sightings. I don't trust them as much as I used to. And here's why. Do you remember that video that came out, I don't know, about 6 months ago, where a whole bunch of people stopped on the New Jersey freeway to film this triangle?
Yeah.
With this craft that looked like a triangle, and it turned out to be a blimp.
Yeah.
And that video is still getting pushed today as a real, genuine UFO. That's why I don't trust mass sightings much anymore. That was when I saw that, I was like, that, and coupled with the drone technology, but more specifically the swarm drone technology that the military exposed in 2015, which means they've been using those drones for at least 15 years. And you can make any shape you want with those things. And it's just there's a name for it. You know, if you put 3 red dots in the sky that look like a triangle, your brain will fill in the gaps.
Right.
And so if it would not shock me if that mass sighting in Phoenix was exactly that, high-tech swarming drones that slowly moved across the sky at dusk, just when it was getting dark, to see what would happen. Like, it would not shock me in the least if that's what it turned out to be. But it wouldn't also shock me if it was in a massive triangle, you know, because there was kids who saw it. I love witnesses that are children, because I felt like their filter for deceiving people is not as advanced as an adult.
Right.
And when kids start yelling, this, you know, I remember one kid talking about it, and he's like, when you looked at it, he's like, it looked like a wavy day on a street when you see the mirage or the heat coming off the street. And that's what it looked like. And when I heard that kid say that, I was like, okay, something is there, you know, it's compelling. It's incredibly compelling. But yeah, mass sightings are tough for me. You know, they're just because there is a mass hysteria when people get together, and, you know, if 5 of them start screaming at something, then that fear just immediately resonates through the entire crowd. And that video is just beautiful to see that happened right in front of your eyes. And I always try to tell folks too, like, if you're watching a video and you think it's incredibly compelling, or you think it's real, just ask yourself this first. Did the video start in the middle, or did this craft come in? Did it leave? If there's no beginning and end, especially end to it, like, I just can't imagine somebody filming something amazing and then shutting off the camera and walking away. You know, if they cut the camera, it's probably not real, I would think. You know, those long, boring, like 15, 20-minute videos of dad recording like a light in the sky off the Lake of Michigan. Like, to me, that's way more compelling and way more interesting, because it's like, yeah, he filmed that thing till it was gone. You know, it's whereas this convenient, like, you know, shaky videos, and then something comes in and then it zooms out.
Right.
You know, but hey, I'm not a video analyst. It's tough to say.
Yeah, me either. It is really tough to say. And I think what you're saying has to do, you've got like the aerial school, because you had all of the kids, and then you had Dr. John Mack, who was hanging out at Harvard, and then he rolled down there to ask all the kids, because he heard about it and he had been studying abductions. And so they gave the kids who saw all the aliens on the playground, they made them all draw them right after like 24 hours. They said, I want you all to draw an alien. And if you're going to have, if someone's going to draw an alien and you're 7 years old, you're going to make it purple with 4 arms or whatever. Right. And you're like, this is the alien. And all the kids are going to have their own concept of an alien. And this was way before there was like an alien emoji or anybody even accepted that at all.
Well, and not only that, it's just a different part of the world. The culture is completely different there. So like Betty and Barney Hill, I don't think was probably a popular selling book in Zimbabwe, Africa, or wherever it was.
Yes. And there's just so many frauds that eventually come out, and it's a bummer when you figure it out and you find you're like, oh, okay, that was, but you have to like sci-fi, I think, to be into it. You have to like the weird, and that's why I think it's funny, right? Like that's why it's fun to talk about and to laugh about, because you get down and then it turns out it's like it wasn't a Venusian, it was a picture of one of the Bee Gees on a late night show.
Right.
Like, oh wait, that wasn't a Venusian. So sometimes it's really interesting because you do find people who do, and that's what makes the UFO videos these days really difficult to kind of get into, because the technology's changed so much. The videos that people were posting 7 years ago on YouTube took hours to load, probably like a 5-minute video from your cell phone, and you had to figure out how to get on your computer. How do I start a YouTube account? Blah, 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 blah.
And now we're streaming live.
Yeah. If I saw an alien, I could just turn my camera right now. We could get it on film. And not on film. We'd have it on a stream forever.
Right. Well, that's what kind of excites me about Elon Musk's Project X, is that every time there's a rocket launch or anything like that, there's a million cameras on it. So I feel like it's inevitable. They're good. Something is going to be caught on one of those cameras. And, like I've said earlier, I leave it to the internet to find that zooming little thing coming through the camera, on the multiple angles that they've got of these rockets. It's going to happen. Like,
it's insane. There's no doubt. That SpaceX footage that they had last week was amazing.
Amazing. Oh my God.
Said
and I agree with you. It looked like CGI. It looked like CGI. It almost like, that happens a lot sometimes when things are very powerful and you're watching them live, they almost come across as fake. And that's happened to me on a couple of occasions on some really big events, where I'm like, damn, man, this almost looks like is this really happening? Like, this is wild. Let's see here. Why, when I load my YouTube channel, made it impossible for anyone to find my channel on YouTube? It's not impossible anymore. Yep, you're right. It's not impossible to find anybody. I mean, look, I've only been around for a year and people are finding my channel everywhere. It's pretty wild. I think right now is the perfect time if you ever tried or wondered about talking about this on a YouTube channel or anything like that. It's a good time to do it because I think there's going to be a spring of information that people are going to want to find voices commenting on that information, and I think we're in a good spot to where the more average citizen gets involved with something like this, they find ALIENGIRL111, they find the unidentified celebrity review,
exactly.
and they start hopefully getting some good information that leads them down the right path. So I guess what's your favorite, UFO case of all time? What's your favorite, your go-to thing that you look at and you go, yeah, that's a smoking gun for me? Is there? Do you have anything?
I have one
that makes you go.
There's so many. I will say the Phoenix Lights are definitely one, mostly because I listened to what you're saying, because all of the footage was back in the day. And I think the reason there wasn't ending footage is because it was filmed on tape, on VHS. Mm-hmm. Everything that people had there was filmed on VHS. And so I do think that's what Yeah. So that's a big one for me. The Zimbabwe UFO case is pretty big. I think Bob Lazar's on point. Like, I believe Bob Lazar.
You believe Bob?
I believe in Bob Lazar 99%.
99. Okay, good. I'm glad you said 99, because if you had said 100, I would have been like, oh, all right, let's talk about this.
99.
I mean, look, I gotta get him on this show.
Oh, someone's talking about Lonnie Zamora.
Yeah, no, our the Big Phone Home is actually was supposed to originally be on the Lonnie Zamora anniversary.
Oh, cool.
But we had to push it because Lonnie Zamora's anniversary, I believe, fell out on a Saturday. So we had to push it 2 days to get it on a Monday. But we'll see. That might maybe go back to Saturday. I don't know. It's a discussion right now. We're trying to decide what's the best time to call Congress and not, annoy them like I was telling you in the pre-show.
Yeah, that's funny that Lonnie Zamora, they have a mural out there, and I've been wanting to go out there and like film it, and it's on an arroyo, and they filmed Lonnie Zamora seeing the UFO go over the car. So I'm gonna go out there and film it. But
no, that's a killer case. It's one of those I mean, I believe it even left marks on him on his clothing as well. And it nicked his car. The craft nicked his car and left a mark on his car, if I'm not mistaken as well. I could be wrong on that, but I know there was some sort of physical trace left behind in that Lonnie Zamora case, which makes it a really, really good case. But going back to Bob Lazar, there's a gentleman, I don't want to give his name away just because I don't know if he wants to share his name, but we had a big philosophy clash on Bob Lazar. I think at one point he was stopped following me because of my view on Bob Lazar. I tend to lean toward the side of that Bob's not being honest.
What do you think his intentions would be to not be honest? Why would Bob Lazar make up this big story? Why?
I think he gets a kick out of it.
You think he gets a kick out of it?
I think he does it for the kicks, man.
He does hang out and like own AKs, and he does do some wild stuff.
He's a wild character.
Jeremy Corbell laser gun.
Here's my biggest thing, right? I think, could we come to the conclusion that Bob Lazar loves the party?
I don't believe that.
You don't think so?
No.
Why?
No, because I've been listening to some of these radio shows for a long time, and Bob Lazar was this secret dude that no one ever heard of.
Sometimes a rocket car in his garage is secret.
Like 8 years, but like 8 years ago, when these little UFO radio shows were talking about him, he was just this mythical person, like a Phil Schneider. You know about Phil Schneider, but you've never heard Phil Schneider talk in a recent documentary. And Bob Lazar, he was there in Vegas, and I got into a fight with somebody on Reddit because I think Bob Lazar, you had George Knapp working with Bob Lazar. He came out and said that Area 51 existed. I guess there was some other reporter I didn't reference, but that was the first point anyone had even heard of the words Area 51 outside of a couple reports and if I'm wrong, send me it. I'm not going to be the one that's like, oh, I already knew that. Don't worry. I'll be the one that's like, oh, I'm surprised.
The reason why I say I think Bob Lazar likes the party or have a good time is, first of all, he's been married multiple times. That's not to say that that he's a philanderer or anything like that, or but you'd be married 3 times. That means my dad's been married a couple of times, like he's a ladies man. He likes the ladies, and then I can't.
The documentary goes into depth. He really does. Yeah.
Well, but also there was, building rockets cars in his garage, and his buddies coming over, drinking beers and hanging out. George Knapp and Bob Bigelow would hang out, and John Lear, all 4 of them would hang out all the time, and get into some shenanigans out in the desert in Area 51. I mean, they were going out there with cases.
That's what I'm saying.
He's a little bit of a party animal. Yeah. So that's why I say I think Bob's a bit of a party animal, but he's you know, and with that said, I just don't like if you're that kind of guy where you like to have a good time, but you're also a little quirky and nerdy. You know, when you're going to MIT, there's only one place the kids at MIT gather to figure out where they're going to party that night on Friday night when tests are over. And when you ask him, hey, where's that square? What's the name of that square? He doesn't remember. He doesn't know. It's just, there are a lot of things. I think the biggest thing for
me, like to party.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I thought you like to party. Should we know where that place is? Like the name of it? If you went to MIT for 4 years, you know, like you would think you would know that square. That was one of the hangups that Stan Friedman had with him was that and his, you know, we can't find any of his records, like of his school records. And maybe the government erased those. But you know what the government can erase? Yearbook pictures. You know, like there are millions and millions of yearbooks made all the time, not millions, but you know, for each
college?
class. Yeah, for sure. Really? Absolutely. Yes. There's photography courses in college. And in those courses, they're tasked to take pictures of different departments around school. There's always things like that. And maybe in the whole 4 years that he attended MIT, maybe nobody ever caught a picture of him. It's possible. I'm not putting it out of the realm of possibility, but I'm just saying it's odd.
So here's what I like about reading a bunch about it, and we talk about coming to the gray and finding different like correlations. I was reading about I want to say it was like solar powered energy on the debrief, and like you beam it to Earth. But anyway, they talk about it. There's in Caltech, right, which is where Bob Lazar allegedly went. NASA's jet propulsion laboratory is actually there. And you know, that's where Bob Lazar obviously possibly learned this. I think anybody who owns the chemical lab at the level that he does, you have to have advanced training, and everything was paper then. You could just go into the admission. Who's going to stop the admissions lady who's, you know, putting all the files away back in, you know, you think somebody could just roll up there, be like, oh, I'm the newbie, rip up some files, never existed.
Sure.
I think it's harder now.
The thing is, though, is like, let's say you went to MIT and you worked your ass off to go to MIT. Would you be proud of that fact?
Oh, yeah, right.
Don't you think you display your degree or degrees from MIT?
I don't know. I guess.
Like, wouldn't you put it in your office? I mean, I'm not saying you put it on your front door, you know, to sort of like, but it's an accomplishment. Like usually when people
he didn't produce the diploma, or
I mean,
he lost his MIT diploma.
Look, if that documentary had
maybe he dropped out.
Maybe.
I think that's probably that sounds like the hole that could be bridged, right? Like I could see him dropping out.
Sure, maybe he dropped out. But I don't remember anybody ever saying.
Isn't that what Snowden did? Because the government went and found Snowden, and then they were like, "Come work for us as a contractor. You're already a creep." I don't think he was finished with college.
Yeah,
you know, you see these young people who have so much brilliance, and you immediately like, are these companies are like, I want you, or whatever your idea is, let's go with it. They just know that this kid's going to make like a ton of money, you know? So I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, look, there have been a lot of people who made a ton of money and that have been CEOs of very successful companies that never finished college. But they usually display their accomplishments, the things they're proud of around them in some way or form. And I don't see a lot of that from Bob. He doesn't like, I never see, you know, like in his office, even at his laboratory where the, you know, the qualifications when you walk into your dentist's office, in every single one of their offices is her degree or a copy of it or something that says that this person is allowed to work on your teeth. And if there's some serious news and you actually have to go into their office, you probably notice all around them you know, like the degrees and the things that they work to get into that position. You know what I mean? To be that professional.
Him being intercepted for his skills, because if you look at any super successful person, Lady Gaga got into a great arts college, you know, in New York City, and then she turned 20, she got a record deal, and she dropped out. You know, sometimes and maybe he just doesn't want to talk about it. Nobody wants to be like, I dropped out of MIT.
Yeah.
You
know? Yeah, but then again, you're using those qualifications to back up your story of you working at Area 51. You know, you're prefacing all of this stuff with, I went to MIT, I went to Caltech, I did this at this lab, I did this at this lab, and you can only confirm up until the lab and after. It's just, look, I used to believe Bob Lazar 100%, not 99, 100%. And the thing that changed my mind, or started changing my mind, or at least opening it to, oh man, maybe this guy's not being honest. And that doesn't mean that parts of his story aren't true or don't ring true. Like, for example, how the crafts move. You know, I loved his explanation of, you know, how science treat, how his lab partners and these people in this this top secret program treated this as if, you know, imagine, you know, if we could take a Lamborghini and throw it into Victorian times and, you know, just pop it there in the middle of a square and see what happens. They might figure out how to turn it on. They might figure out how to put it into gear even.
Right.
But once the gas goes, that's it. That thing ain't moving anymore. They can't do anything with it. And they don't know how to produce the gas to make it run. So it would be like this. They would have to just shelve it until they could figure out how to make it work, you know? So I love that explanation. So there are little nuggets that he puts in there that I'm like, hey man, that's great. But the thing that changed my mind was a group of body language experts that are used when they're interrogating terrorists or people that had just did a mass shooting, you know, like these are very serious experts that are brought in when they need to get the story straight on something. And all four of them came to the conclusion that Bob Lazar has nuggets of truth littered through this, but that the overall connections to those nuggets don't connect. It's just not an honest rendering of what's really happening. But have you seen that Netflix special about the Berkshire's UFO witnesses?
I have seen that, yes.
Okay, so they also did a body language expert on the witnesses from that show, and they came to the conclusion that they were being honest. So that tells me that these body language experts don't have they don't care. They just want to do their job and get to the truth of, there's no agenda for them. And the Berkshire's UFO case, to me, in some aspects of it, was way crazier than what Bob Lazar was talking about in some cases. And all of them were like, I don't know if what they're saying is true, but what they're saying they believe without a doubt is true. So their human twitches and emotions and things that they do that they're picking up on are saying that all of their body is telling you they're being honest. So when I had to watch this like 3 or 4 times because it was pissing me off, because I was like, no, I want to believe Bob. Like, there's no way. What about this? What about that? What about this? And then then that got me going down the rabbit hole of, okay, listen, I have to literally force feed myself to look at this other information and try to come to a little bit more unbiased solution to what I'm looking at. And the one thing that, it was those body language experts. And then when I started looking at Jeremy Corbell's documentary, which, you know, is I mean, I could talk about that ad nauseum. There's a lot of beautiful things about that doc I love, especially the cinematography. But like the first 6.5 minutes of that documentary is Jeremy Corbell in a bathroom sending fake tweets between him and Bob. Like the dates on the tweets, I went back and I looked, they don't fit the FBI raid. Like they're not real tweets. So the first images of this film are sort of not real, you know. And then that got me, and then I started looking at, you know, the famous hand scanner. That was one big knock on Bob Lazar's story, was this hand scanner. Then they found the picture, right? And then when I started doing research on this hand scanner, it's in the film Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It's in the movie. It's in my outro to every single one of my videos. It's the thing that the guy scans, and you just watch it at the end of my video because it's in the outro video.
That's what I talked about in my video. Okay. Right after I saw Bob Lazar, I said it was the hand scanner that did me in. Right. I was like, there's no way that could exist when he was describing it then. And then the other thing is the Los Alamos labs photo that they had of him, and they referenced him as being a physicist there.
Yeah. In the newspaper. Yes. And he was also in the Los Alamos lab phone book. So that confirms that he was working at Los Alamos in some way or form, but that doesn't mean that he went from Los Alamos to a top secret location, S4 in Area 51. You know, it just means that, yeah, he was in the area. You know, it's possible, but that doesn't mean that it's fact. And the thing with this hand scanner is that Close Encounters of the Third Kind came out in 1977, 10 years before Bob Lazar ever told the story about this hand scanner. So that hand scanner for me is null and void. It's no longer, for me anyway, a piece of evidence that you could point at and say, well, what about the hand scanner?
It's weak. Well,
it's for me, it's weak. And then you start going into, and this is just getting back to UAP. This is a long-winded thing, but the person that we had a huge disagreement with is UAP Disciple on Twitter. And he hated me.
Gosh.
And then once I proposed the idea of the big phone home, and we started talking back and forth, and I got to get him on the show because I would love to just for people to see the transformation that the relationship between me and this guy has had. It's like he has done so much to help me on this.
That's awesome.
On this, you know, on this big phone home effort. And he believes Bob Lazar. I don't. But we could both come together on this common ground of, hey, we both know the government has more information. Let's maybe start yelling at them.
Right.
Let's start yelling at them, you know, instead of at each other. Right. So
there's so much yelling at each other, but it's hard because we're in a group of people who all want to be right. Mm-hmm. All of us.
In a topic where nobody's going to be right.
Exactly.
And nobody knows what's going on. Mm-hmm. You know, we just have to take it slow. And so as I slowly go through this Bob Lazar story, the thing that really, I just can't get out of my brain, and there's no delicate way to put it, but Bob was solicited women for sex,
right,
for his financial gain. He was a pimp. And for me, I'm not judging sex workers. I'm okay with sex work. You want to be a sex worker? I know I've heard and have seen a lot of successful women build empires out of that. But I've also seen a lot of women have their lives destroyed by it. You know, it's a very thin knife that you're walking on.
It really is.
when you start choosing that as a career choice.
Right.
So that's why I question Bob Lazar, is if he's the type of person to make the career choice of soliciting women for sexual favors so he can make money and he bought the apartments. He facilitated the security systems. He installed them. It was an operation, and by the affidavit I read and looked at and shared with everyone, it seemed like he knew what he was doing. This wasn't his first time at the rodeo, so to speak.
It seemed organized when you look at it.
It's like it wasn't his first time. So that tells me that maybe he's done this in the past. And then I start to question, well, would FedEx hire this person? Like if there was an arrest on your record, or if there was any sort of thing in your past that a background check would reveal, something like that, and you're trying to get down to the core question of maybe the most important question ever asked, are you going to put this guy anywhere near something like that?
Right.
And that for me that's where I'm like, no, just the logical part of me is like, I love this story. I grew up on Bob Lazar, and it's a big reason why I'm so fascinated with this topic is because of Bob Lazar. But just because I don't believe him anymore doesn't mean that his story is not valuable. Like, it brings people in. But my fear with it, and going back to that double-edged sword, is that, I think more than half the people go down a rabbit hole that maybe isn't very helpful.
Right.
But some people come into the rabbit hole and they find their sort of scientific footing in it. It's very hard to do. It's really, really difficult because you want to get excited. You want to believe Bob. I mean, look, and here's the thing, that the counter argument to what I'm saying is, well, David Fravor believes Bob Lazar. He chased a UFO in an F-18. So, Joe Rogan believes Bob Lazar. Bob Bigelow believes Bob Lazar. George Knapp believes Bob Lazar. Jeremy
Robert
Corbell,
Bigelow. Robert Bigelow is a huge one. I think Robert Bigelow probably knows more about it than anyone in the whole wide world.
Yeah. I was hoping we would get a little more juice out of that Rogan interview. What did you think? Let's talk about that for a second.
I thought we got a lot out of it.
Did you? What was your favorite parts out of it?
My favorite part included when he cornered Bigelow and asked him what his personal experiences were, because Bigelow kept going round and round. And he said, I never even ever told my wife about this, because she passed away, and he's really into the afterlife. But he said, as a young boy, he had 4 or 5 dreamlike experiences where 3 entities in robes came around his bed. And he just talked how he had these very strange dreams. And he's very logical. He's not saying he got abducted. He simply said he had a dream, 4 or 5 of them. And as a young boy, he decided that he was going to grow up and he was going to make a lot of money. And he was going to figure out if there were other people in the universe, aliens, people. What do we really call them if they think like us?
Yeah.
And so I think if Robert Bigelow stamps it, I'll go with it. Yeah. I think he knows. I think he knows everything. He knows what's going on with Skinwalker Ranch. He knows what's going on with the Roswell debris. He's the richest guy who's interested in it. He's got the most information. If you're looking for somebody with power and you're trying to get your little piece of the UFO phenomenon, not only is he on the cusp of the public sector, but the private sector. He's got fans like me and you, or, if you're a fan, I'm a fan of Robert Bigelow, because he's got the huge alien. He put an alien face outside of Aerospace Bigelow. Yeah. Like, as if to say, like, dude, they're here, guys. I know all the secrets of the world, and they're here.
Yeah. I was just hoping it would have been a little more in your face, like that 60 Minutes interview, where the interviewer's like, wait a second, you believe that we're in and she's like, yeah, they're already here, or whatever he said.
Yeah,
he was just more cavalier. Whereas it felt like on Rogan's show, I don't know. I mean, he did give some good nuggets like that, and that was kind of fun to listen to him talk about that. But past that, I was like, man, there's nothing really here. I'm sort of loving, or that I'm drooling over.
He's so skeptical, though. Like he even second guessed his own experience as a child. He didn't say he was abducted.
Right.
He simply refers to it as this dreamlike state he was in, where he met 3 different entities. Right. And there's a lot to say about our subconscious time that we spend. And he even chalked it up, and he said, I read a lot of comic books, but there was nothing like this in comic books.
Yeah.
Because he's very even keeled about it, because when you think about it rationally, it is like this calm, easy conversation. Like, these conversations aren't really that hard.
Yeah.
And, that's what's fun about it, is that a lot of people are really receptive to it, interested to talk about it. And I've always just found that people get really interested to talk about it.
Yeah. What I wish would have, maybe Rogan would have done. I mean, I don't think Rogan does enough research, but what I would have loved to have seen was Rogan maybe replay some of the parts of that 60 minutes interview there on the program and be like, what did you mean by that?
Yeah, that's 60 minutes.
Like,
yeah, because he says they're already among us. By that?
Yes.
He says they're already among us.
Can you elaborate?
Yeah.
And like,
and that's what she does.
Yeah, I want to know more about the data. Like, why haven't you released the data on Skinwalker Ranch? Why you're right. I think he's got the deepest pocketbooks out of anyone looking at this. And, somebody asked, I think it was Zach Sitchy was asking something like, giving like Neil deGrasse Tyson $1 million or something like that. I'm like, or $1 billion. Like, what? I just don't understand. If I was a billionaire, say like a Robert Bigelow, I don't know what his net worth is, but let's say it's $25 billion. Okay. Which is, let's just say that's like $25 for us. Okay. Like, would we take $1 out of that $25 and give it to somebody that could possibly give us answers on this topic?
Yeah.
Okay, so why doesn't he take $1 billion and go to, I don't know, MIT, Harvard? So I would probably go to Harvard first, and I'd be like, here's $1 billion grant, Avi Loeb. Go for it. Build your own goddamn satellite if you have to. I don't care. Go for it. Let's get, all of you, whatever, I want to inspire kids to figure this out.
And maybe it's going in that direction.
I hope so.
Is a new thing. He's only been out and about with his book for 2 months now. I think it came out February 7th. So it's not even a month that this book's been available to read. So maybe he will, because the whole thing with the subconscious experiment that he's talking about, it's $1 million. First prize gets $500,000 for the best scientific paper about the afterlife. And then the 2 second runners up get $250K.
Yeah, see, I don't think $1 million's enough.
No, it's not.
Like, you're a billionaire.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Like $1 million.
Yeah, like
that would be like taking a penny out of that $25 sum and saying, here you go, figure it out.
Yeah, because like Proxima Centauri, that's probably where there's going to be a similar life form to us, I think. Proxima Centauri.
You think it's going to be a similar life form to us, you say?
I do, yeah.
In what ways?
I think on our level of intelligence, I think that signal that came from Proxima Centauri was probably from a civilization similar to ours, sending at least a similar age technological era. I think if we're finding signals from other planets, most likely we have similar technology, because I just don't see us being able to communicate digitally when we're sending letters out on a horse.
Right.
Right. I think that technology gap has to be connected in some ways to actually hear that.
Sure. If it's a technology, if it is, in fact, why do you think it would be? Is it just a signal that makes you think that they're very similar to us? if there is life on that Alpha Centauri?
It's because Avi Loeb is all on board with it.
Yeah.
Avi Loeb saying, hey, we should make sure that we get, in his Scientific American article, that's what he ends with, is he says, we should try to get this life form that's over at Proxima Centauri sending us a signal, and we should entice them to come and have a drink of water. If we're going to waste any of our time with trying to look for extraterrestrial life, go straight to, it's just kind of like goes to basically, and there's all these different articles all around about it, but it's an Earth-like planet in the Goldilocks zone. And, there's a signal coming from it. So, it's all there. And what's interesting, have you ever seen the movie Contact with Jodie Foster? Yes. I know we're amongst similar,
yeah, definitely.
Because that was produced with Carl Sagan actually helped produce that. And so I always think that's phenomenal that back when that was made, that he was thinking that forward, because scientists have always been on board. They've just been ridiculed for so long.
Yeah. No, they have been. And I think Avi Loeb's a big step forward.
I think it's a big deal. I think it's a huge deal.
I think it's gonna be, I mean, the amount of minds he inspires going forward is gonna be excellent for this field and this topic for sure. Just trying to think of what I was gonna. Avi Loeb suggested the thing that we should do is, and it'd be very simple to just have these satellites and telescopes that we have, like Hubble, and start looking for signs of pollution. If there's a civilization, there should be pollution, and we would be able to find it and scan for it very quickly, but we don't do it at all. At all on any level.
That's what was so upsetting about Elon saying we shouldn't do it on the Joe Rogan show. We shouldn't look for life. It's like, we get it. You got in trouble because you smoked a joint the last time you were here. We know you're like, not, but he didn't have to go and say that we shouldn't even look for life. Like, that was kind of, because Avi Loeb's pushing, all these people are pushing, they want to. Bigelow, we're trying. And then Elon, he's like, well, we should just forget about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, he could have just said, it's worth a shot. Why can't he just give it the old Elon try? He tries enough everything anyway.
I think it's because, and
the movie's based on things.
He wrote a book, Contact, and he died right before it came out, the movie, which was a bummer. The thing, what were we saying? We were just talking about a second ago. I read that comment, it threw me off.
Me too. I gotta go read that book now.
Yeah, no, it's gosh darn it. What was I saying? I do this like once a show where I read something and it throws me off. Anyway, can't remember. I'm sure it'll come back to me. But yeah, I mean, I want answers just like everybody else. Nobody doesn't want the answer to these things, but I do like the idea that people like Avi Loeb are starting to come out of the woodworks and inspire. And I would just love to see someone give Avi Loeb just a blank check.
Yeah, I think it's happening. I bet it'll happen.
Go for it. I mean, I would love it. That would be so cool.
He is so cool.
He was. Man, I talked to him. I actually talked to him on the phone through Martin Willis's podcast, and I would recommend everybody check out his podcast because he always lets people call into his guests, and I always get to ask them tough questions or great questions. And I asked him, like, I didn't really ask him anything. I just praised him. I was just like, dude, if we had 100 of you, this wouldn't even be a weird discussion. It would do so much good. And the fact that you get so much flack from your colleagues just for asking them to have an open mind and look at the data, not even like think about it. Just look at the data, and if the data scares them, they don't want to look at it. It's almost like an avid and no offense here, please don't take offense to this. It's almost like an avid Bible Lazar believer. Like they sometimes they overlook data because it doesn't fit their narrative, and you have to look at all of it, no matter what it makes you feel like, or how bad it makes you, or like sometimes it sucks to find out that your heroes are selling you a line of BS. It's like that saying, you never want to meet your heroes. These are the reasons why, because 9 times out of 10, they're just very disappointing.
Right. Well, Luis, I wanted to say thank you so much. I've got to zip out now, but thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
No, I love it. I love that you came on. I love your channel. I love what you're doing. I love that you have an open mind and that we were able to talk about this stuff. And you are welcome to come back on the show anytime you want, my lady.
Thank you so much. You guys have a great one. Thank you so much. You take care.
All right. Bye, Amy.
Thanks, bye.
All right, you guys. ALIENGIRL111 on the show. That was killer. Thought we had a fun time there. Rusty, thank you for hanging out in the show. Rodrigo, what do you got here? Dr. Sarah Seeger is actively implementing a lot of ways to detect possible technosignatures in exoplanets. One of them is the signs of pollution. It was Sarah who found phosphor signs in Venus. Yeah. No, that's implementing a lot of ways to detect technosignatures. Yeah, I would love to see more of this, man. More technosignatures, more finding the things that we do here on this planet, right? Like trying to find those biosignatures that we produce out in the universe and just tweaking those instruments to pick up on those things. But yeah, thank you, Alien Girl. I agree. I think that was a great guest. I loved her insight. I love her open mind. I like that she makes me think differently. She had some really great arguments on some of the things that, that I think and that she thinks. And I think we had some cool stuff brought up. And I hope she comes back on the show again. Sounded like she had some stuff going on at home, so I hope it is all good there. And yeah, okay, check out her show. By the way, I got her link for her Twitter, and I've got the link for her YouTube channel in the description below. I'm going to share that right now with you guys. That's her YouTube channel, so check it out. I think it's a lot of fun. It's very much feels like a video game live stream. She plays music. It's a lot of fun. So go check out her channel, subscribe to her channel. Hopefully she'll be part of the big phone home. I didn't get to ask her about it. She had to bust out so quick. So hopefully she'll join us for the big phone home, and she could call in live on that day and be part of the fun. And also, I wanted to point you toward her Twitter handle here, so you guys can check her out. She's at Paper Crane 111, which I'm sure she's got all of her arts and crafts. You can get to her arts and crafts through here as well. And yeah, she's an avid supporter. She loves tweeting my stuff, and I love helping her channel out as well. I think again, just an awesome, positive female voice in the UFO community, and I'm grateful that she's out here. I'm grateful that she's doing what she's doing, can't wait to see what else she comes up with and what other things she brings to the table, because I think she's an important voice and she's a growing voice, and I love it. I love that you guys were here for the show. Let's see here. That was a good one. Thank you, Terrence, so much for that. Let me remove this one. Michelle, great show. Amy is awesome. I agree. I hope she comes back. I wonder if there was a way to detect warping of space-time. That would be useful AF. I agree. I wonder if there is a way to detect warping of space-time. I wonder if there's a way to detect, when a nuclear weapon goes off, does that leave a signature? wouldn't shock me, right? If you split an atom on some level, if someone could feel it or sense it through some kind of equipment, that's what they say, right? The minute we started dropping the A-bomb is the minute these things started showing up. So get her to do a live report from Socorro with you. She is close by. That would be killer. Yeah, or even not I mean, I'm sure it'd be tough to do a live report from Socorro because you probably need a Wi-Fi connection to do a show like this. But if she did like an edited video, that would be killer. I would love to go out to Socorro. I've never been out to that part of the country. I haven't been out to New Mexico or I think I've been to Arizona. I haven't been. I've been to Utah. I just haven't been in the southern part. That lines the border there of Mexico. I think how many? Let me take a look at a map. I'm trying to think of the states that are there. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean she's in New Mexico, so yeah. I mean, I guess I just haven't been to New Mexico. I haven't been to Oklahoma, Kansas, and Nebraska. Those are the ones I'm thinking of. But yeah, I haven't been in New Mexico or I've been to the east side of Texas, not the west side of Texas. So that would be cool. I hope she would that'd be interested. She said she was interested in doing something out there and checking out the site. And she said they do have a statue dedicated to the Lonnie Zamora case out there. So that could be cool to check out. Luis, I came because of Amy, but I really like your style. Be seeing you more often. Brandy Phillips, thank you so much. That is such a sweet compliment. I really enjoyed Amy a lot, and I am glad that you joined us for this discussion because I think she was a lot of fun. Yeah, so thank you, Brandy, for joining us. Don't forget to click that subscribe. We got a couple of things coming up, you guys. By the way, our Andy McGrillen interview moved from the 10th of March to the 11th. So I think we're going to be doing that on Thursday, but stay tuned. He's doing an interview with George Knapp, and I think the interview got pushed back to Wednesday when we were supposed to be interviewing. So I got pushed for George Knapp. All right. I think that's actually pretty cool. So go get him, Andy. You're killing it over there. We've got, let's see here. Base for okay, no, we got that, and we've got Patricia Avant. Her Twitter handle was so hilarious. Another lady that we're having on the show to highlight women voices in the UFO community. Patricia Avant will be on next Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. She's on the East Coast, and we're going to talk about her film and her Twitter handle. Black people see UFOs. I thought it was so damn funny. Such a funny Twitter handle because you don't hear a lot about Black folks seeing UFOs. It's so I can't wait to talk to her and get her opinion and her insight on things. So let's see what else we got here in the chats going. Justin, you can detect space-time warping with gravitational waves. Yeah, I don't know the science behind that, but that's interesting, Taryn. UFO Majestic Clearance. By the way, thank you for being here. UFO Story and Majestic Q Clearance. Great show, bro. Thank you so much, man. You are definitely appreciated for coming by and stopping by. If you guys want to call into the show, ask some questions, or have me answer some questions, or debate me on anything, Bob Lazar, whatever, let me know in the chats, and I'll send you guys the link. And we could do that if you guys want to. In the meantime, we'll just read some comments. Interesting. Could it be developed to a camera or sensor? Talking about detecting space warping drives with gravitational waves. Taryn, yes, we did in 2016 at the LIGO. Okay. You can detect anything, just takes money. This is true. I 100% agree with that. Doubted at the moment, just detected two black holes colliding. UFO capital of US is New Mexico and Colorado. I totally believe that. And I had a question. I wanted to talk, maybe I'll talk about this with Andy. Why is it that the United States gets a majority of the UFO reports around the world? And from a geographical standpoint, the United States is one of the smallest countries on the planet. Like, that's just fact. We're not a big country whatsoever, especially when compared to Africa or Russia or India or any one of these major China. Like, they're 4, 5, 6, 10 times the size of the United States, and yet we're the country that gets the most sightings. So I want to talk to that. I think I'm going to bring that up with Andy. That's a discussion I want to have with somebody and sort of dive into the reasons as to why that is. Yeah, that's a fun conversation. She is 90 minutes north of Socorro. So yeah, that's not too far of a drive, Amy. I'd love to see a video. Man, if she could pull off a live stream from there with her music, that would be killer. A killer live stream from the statue of the Lonnie Zamora statue. That would be cool. Gravitational wave detection is entering a new phase, according to Rodrigo. The detection of gravitational wave background, a game changer. Yeah, I would say so. If you can detect gravitational waves, that would be cool. It would also be cool if you could create your own gravitational waves. That would be neat as well. What about Richard Dolan? What about Richard Dolan? I don't know. I don't know if what is that in response to? Are you just asking me what about Richard Dolan? I think Richard Dolan's all right. Not too bad. Looking forward to PA. Pennsylvania. I don't know. Let's see here. What else do we got? Rodrigo. Okay, so thanks, Rodrigo. Interesting, great stream as always, Luis. Thank you, Justin O'Neill, for being here. Appreciate it, my man. Let's see here. Rodrigo VC. Do Brazil? I don't know what any of that means here. All right. I'd love to see a show on energy beings. Okay, energy beings. Beings. Yeah, I don't know who I would. Maybe shoot me in the comments section, not the live stream comment, in the comments of the video. Someone who knows a lot about energy beings, and maybe we can pick their brain on it a little bit, because I don't know much about energy beings. I've never been confronted with one. I don't know anybody who has. So it'd be interesting to know definition of energy beings and sort of what you think they are, Brandy. But yeah, I'd love to talk about that. I know nothing about it. So to be honest, if I'm being honest, At Front Astronaut is PA's Twitter handle. I think you're thinking of her film title. Got it. Yes, you're right. You are right. Yeah, are we talking about Patricia? Okay, yeah, Patricia Vaughn. Yes. Yeah, I think you're all right. It's not her Twitter handle. I'm thinking of her film title, Black People's UFOs. Yes, that is the name of the movie. I'm still looking at her stuff. I'm still doing research on Patricia, so still learning about her things. So forgive me if I don't get the facts right on her. But yes, thank you for the correction. Could be because we have most of the nukes, in reference to why I think that's a good answer, Taryn. That's actually a very good answer. That never occurred to me. We have most of the nukes, even though that's a very obvious answer or point. You're correct. We have most of the nukes by far and away. So yeah, that could be why maybe we have the most sightings in the U.S. That's a great theory. Okay. Nuclear materials. It's UFO catnip. That's true. I cannot argue with that, UAP. It is UFO catnip, those nuclear facilities. Geology could be a factor. That is true. Let's see here. Huge missile testing sites for Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico. Accurate. I'd love to see a show on energy beings. Had a few encounters with one. I'd love to hear other encounters. I would too. I got to do some research on energy beings. So possible content for somewhere down the road. Definitely. I'll check it out, Brandon, or Brandy, excuse me. Get Richard Dolan on the show. I would love to have Richard Dolan on the show. Yeah, no doubt. that will be, we're trying to get a lot of people on the show, just FYI. Patricia Avant is going to be our guest next Sunday, 1 week from now. And then we're going to have Annie McGrillen on Thursday. So Annie McGrillen Thursday, Patricia Avant Sunday. And then we're going to have on Wednesday, St. Patrick's Day, we're going to have Stephen Bassett, which brings me to probably the last thing I'll be talking about, which is the big phone home and sort of what's going on. I did an interview the other day with Andrew Hall on Dead Hand Radio, and we were discussing sort of some of the developments with the big phone home. And we don't have a lot of time. There's so little time, but some of the things that Stephen Bassett brought to the table as far as how to approach this and how to politely tell Congress what we're doing and giving them the heads up as to what we're doing. We talked a little bit about it with Alien Girl and sort of making sure that when we call, we don't want to be stepping on the toes of possible real social activism that might be going on at that time. So because of that, to avoid that issue, maybe move the event to a weekend, so a Saturday. So 2 days earlier. We're still discussing this. I don't know when we're going to have a final date. It'll definitely be before the end of March, without a doubt. But we just want to make sure that we dot all of our I's and cross all the T's before we 100% put a date and stamp on it. Because also think about, like, if I do an all-day live stream on a Monday, how many people are working on Monday? I'm sure a lot of you folks will probably be working on Monday. So we're thinking about maybe doing the live stream in the afternoon. If we do it during the weekday, we'll start calling around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. So that way all of the important business is out of the way, and whatever free time can be, taken up by these calls or emails, or however you decide you're going to activate yourself from a disclosure and political standpoint. What are you going to do? Are you going to mail a letter? Are you going to send an email? So let me know what you're going to do. It doesn't matter what you're going to do, just as long as you do something. So we're trying to just nail down these dates and trying to put some deadlines on things. The biggest thing I'm working on right now is getting a list for you guys that will be clickable, that will give you the name of every single senator that belongs to either the Judiciary, Intelligence, Oversight and Reform, Homeland Security, Appropriations, or Space, Science and Tech Committee. If there is a senator or a congressman on any one of those committees, I'm getting their name. I'm getting you their addresses, whether it be in DC or in Washington. And I'm also getting you their Twitter handles. So if you want to, on your own time, you can start sending these people letters, especially in your district. We're going to obviously strongly recommend start with your district, start with your state, and then work your way out from there. But this list will be comprehensive. It's got a lot of names. I'm going through every single state and documenting every single one of these. It'll basically be pictures. You'll have pictures of all of the addresses and pictures of all the Twitter handles. So you just got to type it in and find it. It'll be super easy. And it'll be available to you guys once the website is up and working. So those are the things that are really being worked on right now. We also did a little bit of a test run on Congress during the weekend to see what the feedback or sort of reaction to calling Congress on the weekend, and it's a lot of answering machines. So I don't know if we want to call. Again, these are the discussions we're having. These are the decisions we're making. I'm trying to be as transparent with you guys as possible and letting you know sort of what we're dealing with. But just keep in mind that we have to manage our expectations, but past that, we don't have a lot of time to organize this. So we really got to just nail down the things that we're going to try and focus on, which is, some sort of letter with bullet points, hopefully architect with Lou Elizondo, and maybe some suggestions from Chris Mellon. We'll see. I know Sean Cahill will have some saying what this letter says. So, these people are helping us to make sure that these requests are the ones we should be asking for when it comes to more secrecy and or not more secrecy, but more transparency on the UFO UAP topic. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but you guys are super excited. I'm excited to do this work. I'm excited to share these things with you. I cannot wait to share the final rendition of our poster with all of the names on it. I can't wait for you guys to see the website, and hopefully it'll be easy to use and it'll look really good, and it'll be just simple. It'll have a link to all of your congressmen with all of their information and what committees they're on. It'll have a link, obviously, to the live stream that we'll be doing that day, and it'll have the links to all of the participants and channels involved in this effort. So we're going to have, hopefully, I never got to ask Alien Girl because she had to dip out so fast, but I mean, I would love Alien Girl to call in day of and join us for the big phone home and show us whatever activism she did for that day in trying to get more information from the UAP in this UAP disclosure process. So yeah, we're going to have we're gonna have a lot of people. Lou Elizondo, Sean Cahill, Alejandro Rojas has retweeted. We're gonna have Andy McGrillen from that UFO podcast. We're gonna have, I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. I've already named these people, but I hope you guys are getting excited. Thank you so much for your patience. I truly appreciate it. We're gonna end with reading some more of these comments. If you have any questions about the big phone home, don't hesitate. Ask me in the chat. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. Rodrigo says the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2017 was divided, one half awarded to Rainer Weiss, the other half jointly to Barry C. Barnish and Kip S. Thorne. Man, that's interesting. I don't know what that's in response to, but Rodrigo, you are a wealth of information for decisive contributions to the LIGO detector and the observations of gravitational waves. Aha, there you go. Dude, that's awesome information, man. Thank you so much. Rodrigo, you're always killing it with the info, dude. Seriously, I don't know how you do it. I may have to interview you one day and have you come on the show. I wonder if you'd be down for that, because man, you are a monster when it comes to consuming and sharing information. Just good stuff. Looked like living blue electricity. Interesting. WSMR. Kip Thorne was a consultant for the movie Interstellar and showed us what wormholes and black holes may look like in reality. That was one of my favorite time travel movies ever, was Interstellar. I think that film is awesome. And I loved watching it in the theater. I thought the sound was insane. So good. Don't you miss movie theaters? Man, I miss movie theaters so much. Speaking of sightings, has anyone actually data mine sightings from different countries, or is it something that we just assume as we're America? Cheryl Costa, maybe. That's a good question. See, I think somebody has data mined this for sure, without a doubt. I know there's an interactive chart of all of the sightings within the United States, and it wouldn't shock me if there was some sort of data chart that extended around the world. So look for it, because I know that the one for the U.S. without a doubt is there. Magic, never heard of him. Sorry. Get Tom along and have me on the show so I could talk about him about Blink 182. Yeah, dude, Taryn, if I get Tom DeLonge on the show, you can call in and ask him whatever you want about Blink 182. I loved that band when I was in high school. It was a big band that was around. So yeah, I know all the songs. Rodrigo, try to watch the data, let me tell you, on YouTube. Okay. There you go. Let me know what you think about it. I understand Chico Javier is he a meme? Okay. All right. You guys are having a conversation here about, I don't know what's going on. Magic is a materialist, so I have time of mediumship. Okay. You guys are talking about mediums in here. All right. I'm a skeptical person myself too, but I had a very close case with my family with Chico that was a game changer. That helped me build the idea for our dimension is not the only one. Well, that's just, I think there are definitely more than 5 dimensions, right? Height, width, depth, or 4. Height, width, depth, time, and is there a 5th? Yeah, there's definitely more than 4. There's, I think, up to 12, they said. But damn, it gets very confusing past those. Yo, familia. What's up, Marco? Thank you so much for coming in. You're late. Yes, you are, but no worries. You know, love these first world problems. You could always just rewind and check it out later, my dude. I think we had a great discussion with Alien Girl. She had the jets, so I'm sticking around and reading some of these comments. I mean, we had a great hour and a half conversation with her. You know what? I didn't ask her how long she could go. I probably should have asked that. Because she's like, oh my God, how long is this? I'm just talking, man. I love talking to people. So, you know, I hope I didn't overstay my welcome with her. I don't think so. I think she had a good time. But let's see here. Hey, Bushi, what's going on, Bushi Bato? Always in the chat, always showing love. Marco, what about Contact the movie or Arrival? Nah, I didn't. Of course not, dude. Fuck yeah, Luis. I got questions. Yes, I got questions too, man. Ask away. Don't be shy. Arrival, yeah, that's enough. I mean, I Arrival's not my favorite. I thought it was okay. I loved Contact. I think Contact is one of the best extraterrestrial films out there because it's really the realism in that film is just so nice. It's just you know, it's super grounded in reality, that entire film. So I think that's my favorite part about it. But yeah, let's see what else, you guys. Anything else? You got anything else for me out there? Probably gonna wrap this up here in a second if there are no more questions in the chat. And yeah, I hope you guys are ready for this week's shows. We got some killer shows coming up. I'm going to talk. I'm going to do an episode about Bob Bigelow and the Joe Rogan interview. And I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do my second show about. I'm going to probably dive into it a little bit tonight. But then I'm also, I think I'm going to do a show about or a review on the James Fox and Jake Paul interview, which I thought was fantastic. If you haven't seen that, I thought the questions that were asked of James Fox were excellent. And I thought when James Fox started getting into the weirder things, the pushback to reality was very nice. It was subtle, and it was in a way that didn't offend anybody. You know, it was cool. Very intellectual conversation. I was surprised by the intellectualness that was brought to the conversation. It was one of the better UFO conversations I've heard, and it made me want to go watch their interview with Stephen Greer, which they do have. So I'm going to check that one out as well. I wonder if you guys have seen it. But yeah, those are going to be the 2 shows this week. And of course, again, we've got a live stream with Annie McGrillen on Thursday, and we've got our live stream with Patricia Avant on Sunday, and then we've got Stephen Bassett on Wednesday. So we've got a ton of shows coming your way. We got Paradigm Shift Radio coming on the show. She's also we're going to be highlighting her channel as well. Again, just highlighting the ladies and the people of color in this community as best I can, and talk about this and have disagreements, but also maybe come to some common ground. So you know, the bottom line at the end of this, we just all have fun, and because this is a fun thing to talk about, we shouldn't be getting angry with each other. Interstellar, than all. Yeah, I agree. I think it's greater than all as well. It's such a cool movie. Val Johnson was the highway patrol car that got jacked by UFO. Okay. In the field, wait, is this okay? In the field of relativity, space-time, 4 dimensions, 3 spatial, 1 temporal. Outside of relativity, we commonly interact with 3 dimensions, height, width, depth, and then time is going to be that 4th dimension that we constantly interact with, but we never think of that as a dimension. But yes, you're right. 3 spatial dimensions, 1 temporal, outside of relativity. Excellent, Rodrigo. You're awesome. My girlfriend has 12 dimensions. Oh man. Okay, now you got me in trouble. I don't know. Dimension is the word I was going for. English is not my first language, hilarious. Hey Luis, get on Greer so we can all call in and grill him. I would love that. I would love to talk to Greer. Love to talk to Greer. Marco, I feel you. Rodrigo, thank you so much. All right, so you guys, I think that's where I'm going to end it. And yeah, so before we go, of course, I want to say thank you to the sponsor, BlueMarlinChronicles.com, purveyors of the world's finest fishing tackle since 1995. I want to say thank you to DOS Tapes. They provide all of the music that you hear on the show. Their SoundCloud link is in the description below. I want to say thank you to Alien Girl, all of her ALIENGIRL111. All of her links are in the description below. You got the links to her Twitter and also her YouTube, so check her stuff out, follow her. I think she's a lot of fun. And that's it, you guys. Thank you so much for coming aboard Getting Weird with me. Remember, hashtag the big phone home every time you talk about UFOs to get the word out. And keep talking about it. Keep pressuring people to answer on this hashtag, because it's working. It's working. We've got Jeremy Corbell listening. We've got George Knapp's. We're on his radar. These folks are listening. They're getting on board and they're signing up for it. So keep doing what you're doing. I can't do it by myself, and it cannot be done without all of you guys out there. So thank you so damn much for all of the things that you guys are doing. I cannot thank you enough from the bottom of my heart. Seriously, thank you for accepting me into this community, and thank you for taking my idea and making it your idea and running with it as hard as you guys are running with it. That's it. Thank you so much again for coming aboard Getting Weird with me here on another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review, your home for credible news, reviews, and commentary on everything UFOs. Until next time, you guys, stay safe out there. Peace.
Unidentified.